Is this working? Yes. Do you think Richard?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's meeting of Suffolk County Council. I am Councillor Jessica Fleming, Chairman of the Council, and I'm chairing the meeting today. The meeting is being broadcast live and is available to watch on the Council's website while we're in public session. A recording will also be available for viewing following the meeting. Members of the public and the press may also record, film or broadcast the meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded, in line with the Council's published guidance, and provided that due courtesy, I was going to sneeze, and respect are shown to others in attendance. May I remind speakers to wait for me to ask them to speak before turning on their microphones. And when you're speaking, please ensure you use the microphone and speak directly into it, so that you can clearly be heard on the audio recording and the webcast. Also, please avoid holding papers or IT equipment in front of the microphone, as this will affect sound quality. I would also ask you to avoid talking with colleagues whilst speaking or addressing the chamber. I'm not anticipating emergencies this afternoon, but please familiarise yourself with the fire escapes and listen for any instructions in the event of an emergency. At the end of today's meeting, please may I request that councillors remain seated until you hear the gavel to confirm the meeting has closed. And finally, please, may I remind you to turn your mobile phones, laptops, and any other IT equipment to silent if you haven't already done so. The first item on today's agenda is Suffolk in Focus, and I am delighted to welcome Beccy Reedy, co-chair of Suffolk Music and Arts Alumni Trust, i.e. SMART. Beccy grew up in Suffolk and has been involved with Suffolk youth music throughout her early years from 1991 to 2001. Beccy has enjoyed significant benefits from the opportunities that arose through music school and playing with South Suffolk intermediate and youth orchestras, Suffolk Junior Strings and Suffolk Youth Orchestra, and has performed at Snape Maltings, the Royal Albert Hall, and has toured France, Italy, Spain, Poland, and Hungary. Following A-levels at Cheltenham's Music School in Manchester, Beccy gained a BA Honours degree in music from Cambridge. She's worked in commercial law, insurance, and governance for most of the past 20 years, most recently head of compliance for a global insurance company. Beccy continues to play the piano and cello and plays with various groups. She believes that arts education should be accessible to everyone as it opens doors to invaluable experiences and possibilities throughout one's life. She is a founding trustee of SMART and has been involved since 2018. She became co-chair in 2020. Through SMART, Beccy and her co-trustees bring together supporters and alumni of Suffolk youth arts organisations and use their skills, passion and experience to raise funds so that SMART can provide funding to help Suffolk's young people access high-quality music and arts opportunities. Councillors, it gives me enormous pleasure to ask Beccy to address you today. Beccy, please address the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for the kind introduction. On behalf of SMART, I'm delighted to be welcomed here today and for SMART to be one of the Chairman's Charities of the Year. Before telling you more about SMART, let's meet Jack, who's 11 years old. He struggles at school, finding it hard to focus, stay organised and keep up. His family suspect dyslexia, and while awaiting diagnosis, his disengagement at school has led to behavioural issues and risk of exclusion. For the past year, weekly stage school classes have helped Jack feel calmer, more confident and able to express himself. But with his dad no longer able to work due to MS and his mum recently made redundant, the family can no longer afford these sessions. Jack's friend Savannah is also 11. She loves playing the trumpet, recently passing grade 5 with distinction. She's just been invited to join the West Suffolk Youth Jazz Ensemble, a chance she's thrilled about. But her single mum already pays for lessons and instrument hire, and caring for Savannah's younger brother, who has cerebral palsy, leaves little money or time. Rehearsals also clash with her brother's physio appointments, making transport difficult. Our final person to meet today is Rebecca, who's 16 and plays the cello. She first picked it up as a very shy 8-year-old through free lessons and free instrument hire at school. A year later, she joined Saturday morning music school and then later Friday night youth orchestras, all free and supported by free coach transport. Further opportunities took Rebecca across Suffolk and beyond, from subsidised residential courses and European tours with county music ensembles to the National Children's Orchestra. Now she's about to start at one of the UK's 5 specialist music schools funded by the government's Music and Dance Scheme and is excited about the doors this will open. As you may have guessed, Rebecca is me back in the 1990s. All the opportunities I had through the county music service shaped who I am today. They gave me valuable skills for my career and life: confidence, collaboration, drive, resilience, and importantly, friendships and memories. Alumni from Suffolk Youth Music have gone on to great careers in the music industry, conducting and playing in leading orchestras, composing film music and attending Leicester Square film premieres, directing major arts centres such as the South Bank, and leading community music programmes across the world. But it's not just about music. Thousands of alumni from Suffolk Youth Music are giving back to the communities across Suffolk and beyond. There are doctors in Suffolk hospitals, teachers in Suffolk schools, lawyers in Suffolk high street firms and international commercial law firms, detective superintendents within the police, MPs and deputy leaders of major political parties, senior leaders in FTSE 100 organisations, IT and cybersecurity experts, and even award-winning cheesemakers. All these people have their roots in Suffolk, and Suffolk in their hearts, whether they are currently here or not. Music and the arts aren't just about performance. They give people the skills, confidence, and connections to fulfil their potential in every walk of life. It's not news that government support for the arts has declined over the past 30 years. With councils facing tough budget choices, the arts are understandably often seen as less urgent than other needs. Where once opportunities were free or subsidised, today's young people must pay or miss out, as Savannah and her mum are finding. That's where SMART comes in. We want all young people in Suffolk to have access to arts opportunities to enrich their lives. But they don't, as you can see from Jack and Savannah's situations. SMART provides funding so Suffolk's young people can access these opportunities. We're not going to solve the funding gap single-handedly, but we can change lives one person at a time. SMART was set up in 2018 by alumni of Suffolk Youth Music, alongside trustees including the head of the County Music Service, a Suffolk primary school head teacher, and youth trustees drawn from the county music ensembles. Our honorary president is Philip Shaw, OBE, who arrived in Suffolk in 1987 as a senior county music advisor and retired in 2017 as head of the Suffolk County Music Service. Our members are alumni, supporters, and friends of Suffolk youth arts organisations. We fund young people across all arts, not just music. We raise money by bringing together our members at events and performances such as the ones pictured here, including an orchestra of our members who played at Latitude Festival. Our money comes from other sources as well. We also benefit from funds taken on from two dormant charities who have similar aims to us. So what impact does our funding make? Since 2018, we've supported 96 grant applicants like Jack and Savannah with over £41,000 in grants, as well as 5 individuals through SMART scholarships worth £10,000. We funded young people across many arts forms, from primary school children needing help with weekly stage classes or instrument lessons, to teenagers in the National Youth Orchestra, or studying at performing arts colleges or at weekly junior music conservatoires, and school leavers heading to higher education at music and jazz conservatoires and dance academies. We support young people across Suffolk. This map up there just shows the people we funded last academic year, but it's a much wider spread than that. The demand is huge and growing. Last year, we received applications seeking £60,000 in funding, but we could only meet a quarter of those requests. But where we can meet the demand, our grants have a huge impact. One parent told us how the SMART scholarship had given her daughters increased confidence, social engagement, and academic attainment. She also said it's a huge financial burden lifted. SMART has offered an otherwise unobtainable opportunity to participate in orchestras. Another parent described the grant as a life-changing moment for our family. Music is now at the centre of her ambitions and dreams. And a young artist we funded said, "If I had not been awarded this grant, I simply would not have been able to attend the Junior Guildhall, which is such a colossal opportunity to miss. I am grateful that awards like this exist for artists like myself, who would have the door closed to them without financial support." This opportunity to share our work with you has come at a crucial time. The demand is greater than our current fundraising capacity, and we need your help. to widen the impact of our work. In every one of your divisions, there is a Jack or a Savannah. What one small thing could you do to help change their lives? You spread the word? Could you help fundraise? Could you get involved? If you spread the word, you could call on your networks across your division and beyond. Connect us with potential donors or business sponsors. Connect us with potential members, supporters of the arts. Connect us with potential trustees. We're looking for a general secretary and a publicity officer to strengthen our skills. Connect us with other arts organisations to widen our reach to potential grant recipients. Help us fundraise. Consider donating, whether regularly or one-off, or leave a legacy in your will, or host or sponsor a fundraising event for us. And get involved. Join us as a member, stand as a trustee, volunteer your time and skills, or come to an event. We can support you in supporting us through talks, through providing performers for events, or data and evidence about the financial need we're seeing across Suffolk. The chairman will circulate more information about SMART after today, and I encourage you to find out more about us and our work, as I've had limited time today to share the true extent of what we do. I know I'm preaching to the converted. Each of you already does so much for Suffolk and our people. But somewhere in Suffolk, a life will be changed because of one tiny action that you take after today. Imagine, you talk to a potential donor about SMART. Their donation enables Jack to continue at stage school, developing confidence and skills that increases engagement at school, enabling him to stay in mainstream education and eventually go on to drama school. After a career on stage and TV, he sets up a stage school in Suffolk to inspire the next generation. Imagine, telling your family about our work could mean your niece volunteers her skills to run our social media. Bringing in donations, that means Savannah can join the jazz ensemble. That one step could open doors to experiences that shape her future career. Perhaps a European wind band tour sparks her interest in architecture. She goes on to become a respected architect, shaping Suffolk's heritage and built environment. Just imagine. Help us to show Suffolk's young people that they are supported in their dreams, so they can go on to fulfil their potential and represent Suffolk with pride. Help us spread the word, fundraise, and get involved yourselves. Thank you for your time, and thanks again to the chairman, Jessica, for the opportunity to share our work with you today.
Beccy, thank you for your most thought-provoking and inspiring address, for joining us this afternoon. And having just attended the Suffolk Music's Gala last month, I can attest that music is a wonderful thing, and we have so many talented students in this county. So let's get behind them. Thank you again, Beccy. You're welcome to stay and take a seat or to leave the meeting.
Unfortunately, I have to head off.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll now move on to agenda item 2, Chairman's announcements. Neil Lister, Suffolk Coast and Heath's National Landscape Officer, is retiring after 30 years outstanding service to the Suffolk Coast and Heath's AONB. Suffolk has undertaken most of the roles within the team over the years and has always brought his huge knowledge of countryside management to the table. His encyclopedic knowledge of the nationally designated landscape is unrivaled. He never reveals his favourite spot, but many suspect it relates to nature and the coast. Colleagues, volunteers, and parish district and county councillors will miss his knowledge and pragmatic outlook. The Suffolk Coast and Heath's national landscape will lose a great advocate. I'm sure councillors will join me in congratulating Neil on his retirement. Nicola Fox, Home First Service, is leaving the council after 29 years. After 29 years with Home First, nearly 3 decades, Nicola has been a steady and caring presence, helping countless people regain their independence. Her unwavering commitment and dedication have been an incredible asset to the team and a shining example to us all. She will be deeply missed by everyone who had the privilege of working alongside her. I'm sure councillors will join me in wishing Nicola all the best in her next chapter. Nicola, are you in the room? That concludes my announcements for today. We'll now move on to agenda item 3. Apologies for absence. Apologies received in advance are displayed on the screen. Are there any changes or amendments to the list?
Yes.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Elizabeth Farrow, I believe, was meant to have sent her apologies, but she is unable to be with us.
Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 4. Declarations and dispensations. I would like to remind you that members of the Council have received written notification from the Monitoring Officer confirming you've been granted a standing dispensation for a period of 4 years. This is to allow you to speak and or to vote on matters relating to devolution and local government reorganisation, where you may otherwise have an interest arising from receipt of members' allowances as a member of Suffolk County Council or in your dual role as a member of Ipswich Borough Council, Mid Suffolk and Baber District Councils, West Suffolk Council or East Suffolk Council. Do councillors have any interest to declare other than those listed in respect of today's agenda? Yes, Councillor Byatt.
Thank you, Chair. As always, I declare the fact that my wife is an employee of Suffolk County Council working for the Family and Youth Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byatt. We will now move on to agenda item 5. Minutes of the previous meeting. These refer to the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of July 2025. I have received notifications of some corrections to the minutes. On page 5, line 8, should read Robert Lindsay. Page 8, paragraphs 1 and 2, corrections required to the spelling of Morton Hall and Walton Hall. On page 13, reference to Councillor Ash Lever should read Councillor Seamus Bennett as proposer of motion 2. Page 17, line 4, correction to the spelling of Andy Mellon's surname. If any councillor wishes to comment on the minutes, please indicate to the monitoring officer. Councillor Bryce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Page 7, second public question, supplementary question from Jerry Hindle. Whilst I would welcome Tottenham and North London and Whittingham in Northumberland into my patch, it might be a bit of a stretch to get to the parish council meetings in the evening. So it should be Tottenham and Whitnesham, please. And also, sorry, also the preceding page, page 6, the response from Councillor Philip Faircloth-Mutton. Thank you, Mr. West, as opposed to Mr. Hindle, for the first question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciated. I take it that the Council is now content to approve the minutes as corrected. Can we have a general affirmation? Thank you, Councillors. Let's move on to agenda item 6. This is public questions. There is one public question today. I will invite the questioner to take a seat in the chamber to ask their question. I will then ask the appropriate cabinet member to respond. Questioners have up to 1 minute to ask each question. And the question and answer will be recorded as part of the minutes of this meeting. Question 1. From Mike Jeans to Councillor Chris Chambers. Mr. Jeans, when you're ready, would you please take a seat at the microphone and ask your question?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please, can you tell me which of the routes already consulted upon for an Ipswich Northern bypass will be selected for further development?
Thank you, Mr. Jeans. Councillor Chambers, please would you respond?
Thank you, Mr. Jeans. Suffolk has been on the back burner of too many governments for far too long, and this county is crying out for investment in its transport infrastructure.
Yes.
However, a northern bypass for Ipswich alone is not going to be the solution, but it may be part of it. And there are other things that need to be done as well to tackle the congestion that is shackling the movement of people and goods. As previously stated, Suffolk County Council has undertaken a review of strategic transport infrastructure for Ipswich. We need a transport network that is fit for purpose, and the aim of this review is to see how it can best be developed. I've also written an open letter to the Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander MP, calling for talks about the need for strategic investment in Suffolk's transport infrastructure. Unfortunately, at this stage, it is therefore not possible to confirm a preferred route.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Mr. Jeans, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Chair, yes, I'd love to, but the answer doesn't really give me any scope for saying anything, does it? It's all going to be looked at. And as far as I can see, the bypass is probably not.
Thank you. If you have no question, then I do thank you for your question, which is a really important question, and we'll move on to agenda item 7. Agenda item 7 is a report by the Deputy Chief Executive and Executive Director of Growth, Highways and Infrastructure. And this concerns Suffolk County Council's decision to consent, or otherwise, to the laying of draft statutory instrument to establish the Norfolk and Suffolk Combined County Authority. I have been informed that there is a correction to the report. On page 26, paragraph 8, December 2025 should read December 2024. I now call on Councillor Richard Rout to move the recommendations. Councillor Rout, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It feels like we were only here a couple of weeks ago. So it's with a slight sense of déjà vu that I propose today's paper, having been here so recently discussing other equally important aspects of changes to Suffolk's electoral and democratic landscape through local government reorganisation. I'm grateful to all members and indeed our council's staff, particularly Democratic Services, for their participation in and facilitation of another full council meeting so that we can discuss the benefits for Suffolk of the new devolution requirements set out in the English Devolution and Community Engagement Bill, and recommend to Cabinet, who will meet following this meeting, that it consents to government laying the statutory instrument that will bring the Norfolk and Suffolk Combined County Authority into existence. Madam Chairman, in January this year, this council committed to delivering both devolution and LGR to the most ambitious timeframe through our participation in the Devolution Priority Programme, or DPP. Our inclusion on the DPP was a massive vote of confidence in Suffolk, in this administration's ambitions for our county, and was underpinned by our long-held desire for devolution. For too long, Suffolk and indeed Norfolk has been a devolution desert. Alongside local government reorganisation, it gives us a rare opportunity to reshape governance, improve the lives of our residents, and ensure that Suffolk has the strong, unified voice it needs and deserves on the national stage. Whether it's the Ely and Hawley rail junctions, a Centre for Excellence for Nuclear Operations and Maintenance, the A12 MRN scheme, or the 5 ways interchange on the A11. Too often, Suffolk has not been given the access that counties and regions with directly elected mayors have been afforded. Some of us, myself included, may in our hearts be somewhat lukewarm towards the creation of another tier of bureaucracy. However, this louder voice a mayor would give, coupled with an investment fund of £37.4 million per year, a sum slightly greater than that promised across Norfolk and Suffolk in the county deals that fell away under the new government, suggests to me that now is the best opportunity for Suffolk to take forward the concept of a directly elected mayor, a point underlined by the fact that it is being made quite plain that those at the front of the queue, such as Norfolk and Suffolk, will receive more favourable investment than those further down the list. It is my hope that the new mayor and MCCA will turbocharge growth across these two counties through a set of investment priorities decided and shaped here in Suffolk and Norfolk. Colleagues will go into more detail on their areas of expertise, but we know the new mayor will oversee a number of key strategic areas, including but not exclusive to strategic transport infrastructure, economic development, aspects of health improvement, and in time, the blue light services of both fire and policing. I will be able to go into more detail with the time afforded to me at Cabinet, Madam Chairman. However, I thought it might be useful to give members some examples of how mayoral investment funds have been used elsewhere. Now, the £37.4 million that Suffolk will receive each year is split 50-50 between capital and revenue. Elsewhere, it has been used for such schemes as regeneration and town centre development, subsidised bus passes, new buildings, retrofit schemes, homelessness projects, cultural and tourism events, and small business support. The mayor would also attract investment, as I mentioned, to work on and improve key infrastructure and drive county-wide growth. Madam Chairman, a successful mayoral authority requires robust and sustainable local government and governance, effective delivery and credible local voices at that decision-making table. 2 weeks ago, we discussed our proposal for One Suffolk, a single unitary authority for our county. This sustainable model, effective delivery and credible voice is precisely what One Suffolk would deliver. It would be smarter, simpler and better. It would be a strong voice for our county, and it would be the most effective partner for the new mayor. Madam Chairman, these 2 meetings of this council will perhaps be the most pivotal in its history. Through both devolution and LGR, we are reshaping local governance in our county. We are setting up Suffolk for future prosperity and growth, and we're giving Suffolk that single, loud voice so that it can no longer be overlooked by those in Westminster. I urge you all to support the recommendations and the establishment of the MCCA for Suffolk and Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rudd. Do you have a seconder?
I'd like to second but reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Got it. Councillor Andrew Stringer, as the spokesperson for the opposition, you may speak for up to 5 minutes at any time during the debate.
Correct. I will signal when I wish to speak.
Right, I will be watching for your signal.
But not yet.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sandy Martin, as spokesperson for the Labour Group, you may speak for 5 minutes at any time during the debate. Councillor Martin, would you like to speak now or later?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will speak now.
Thank you.
I am absolutely delighted that our government is taking devolution seriously. Transport, housing, and various other functions need strategic planning if they are going to be effective and successful. We also need coordination, cooperation, and co-design between the strategic authority and local authorities. And in the initial instance, that will be Suffolk County Council and Norfolk County Council. Eventually, that will be the unitaries that are set up as legacy or new unitary authorities. We are not here today to decide about the unitary authorities. We're here today to decide about the setting up of the devolved strategic authority for Norfolk and Suffolk. I'm slightly surprised that Councillor Rout is somewhat ambivalent about this, because you only need to look at what strategic mayors have been able to do in London, in Manchester, and various other places to see just how much additional planning, just how much more effective transport, just how much more coordinated and coherent housing policy can be brought in if you have a strategic mayor that can deal with the government directly. And I am looking forward to all sorts of projects being brought forward which we have not had a unified voice on in the past. In particular, obviously in transport, the Hawley Junction on the railway and the Ipswich Northern Bypass. And I'm sure that they've got plenty of other strategic transport projects in Norfolk as well, many of which cross the border. So it does make sense to have a strategic mayor for Norfolk and Suffolk. And beyond that, we also need to have an accountable person in power to make these decisions. Decisions which should not have to be made in Whitehall. Decisions that can be made by somebody who has been elected by the people of Suffolk and Norfolk to do what the people have elected them for, and people who can take those, somebody who can take those strategic decisions without having to deal with the small-scale local stuff, which needs to be dealt with by small-scale local councillors working for small-scale local unitary authorities. The mayor needs to be strategic. The councils need to be local. Working together, they can at last give Suffolk residents and Norfolk residents the sort of local governments which is both effective and accountable that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Christopher Hudson, a spokesperson for the Reform UK group. You may speak for 5 minutes at any time during the debate. Are you speaking now, Councillor?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, colleagues. Yep, Reform is very happy to end the two-tier system as soon as possible. It hasn't worked, it's failed. We're here to represent the people. We're here to represent change, and we very much welcome and wish we could have that change which was held away from us last year when the elections were taken away from the people. As I often say, the people are the masters. We look forward to them, and we look forward to Reform winning this election. We want to end the two-tier system. We want clear accountability. Clear accountability is vital. We must show forbearance. We must show patience. But we mainly want to show cost cutting and efficiency. Because, my word, it is definitely needed. The amount of waste which is transparent to all thinking people is abundant. We want that bureaucracy then, as I said, to be slashed. We want to redirect our savings to actually public services in a more centralised way than it has been in this way. Centralised so that it responds directly to the people, and we need accountability, which very often has been lacking. We need transparency. Transparency is a very important word, and very often it is lacking, at least as far as the people are concerned. We need to protect local elections. Sadly, we missed out on that last year, and that's very, very important that the people are enabled to have their say. It's obvious that public service needs reform, Madam Chairman. We need integrated delivery across the board. That would be a marvellous thing. We need technology-driven solutions, and I know that technology is ever present. I know that people are concerned about AI, but it is the future. It will radically change and improve, at least we we hope it improves, Madam Chairman, the delivery for the people whom we are here to represent. We sometimes worry about too much centralisation, and I take that on board. Some are sceptical of all the power being centralised in one man or one woman. I understand that case, that someone can somehow sit in Bury St Edmunds Cathedral and tell the people in Cromer what to do. I think we should demand local control over funding, and therefore scrutiny and governance of the mayor is absolutely vital, because the mayor is the central linchpin for the delivery of our dreams and expectations. And as I say, Reform looks forward to championing that role and indeed winning that role should the electorate so decide. Community-led decision-making, Madam Chairman, is absolutely vital. Consultation first, along tailored models that will help us to give delivery. This is not about purely devolution. It is about putting the people in command of the whole deal. And to that extent, I commend it to you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hudson. Do any other councillors wish to speak in this debate? If so, please indicate to the monitoring officer. And we'll do what we usually do, which is to go from one side of the chamber to the next. So if you're worried that, that I've missed you out, it's probably just because someone on the opposition is ahead of you. So should we start with Councillor Richard Smith?
Madam Chairman, I have not always been in favour of the concept of a mayor for Suffolk and Norfolk, but times and political circumstances change. The Labour government is determined to reshape local government in England, and I have to say that I agree with them. The various inconsistent structures through which local government exists in England does need to be reformed. But thank goodness that after a huge effort from across this county council, our proposal for local government reform and the advocating of a one Suffolk unitary council with its attendant, very detailed business case has now been lodged with government. And we await their decision, the decision of newly appointed ministers in MHCLG, expected in the next few months. But along with this comes the election of a mayor who will join meetings of the Council of Nations and Regions, and it's likely that, via that body, significant funding will be dispensed, and we must be there to fight our corner and not lose out on the new funded initiatives that will become available. The powers and responsibilities of the mayor are bit by bit becoming clearer, and what we know is outlined in the council papers in front of us. Over the course of the next 2 months, we should know the full implications of and the detailed planning for handover of powers and responsibilities, which will yet again be another considerable package of work for this council. The mayor will lead a team of commissioners who will each have individual responsibilities backed by a cadre of officers. I sincerely hope that members there will not grow inexorably and that the mayoral operation will be tightly controlled financially and that the cost on local council taxpayers will be minimised. But whatever our personal views are, this change is coming, and we'll have to work with the mayor's office, both in embryo and soon in reality, to ensure success is maximised. If we don't want it and vote against it today, then that change will likely be imposed on us. And if it is imposed on us, the financial benefits will be scant. We've been selected as only one of 6 areas on the priority list, and certain extra financial benefits as outlined by Councillor Rout will come with that. For the sake of our wonderful county, its people and its businesses, we have to be right at the centre of this mayoral initiative, being active and influential from day one. I hope this council will this afternoon, Madam Chairman, vote to support the recommendation before us.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I now call on Councillor Nettleton. Councillor Nettleton, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Electoral Commission is not keen on 2 elections on the same day. And hopefully the election for mayor will take place next May, and that will be the only one. However, the election to County Council was not produced to go forward yet. It may be cancelled. Now, listen to what Councillor Hudson said. We lost the opportunity last May to vote, so will we get the opportunity this time? If we do, it will be for 70 councillors, not 75, and it will be single-member divisions mostly, I think almost exclusively, maybe one different. However, if this election is cancelled, the next election will take place probably in 2018, and that will be for 140 councillors. Now, there'll be 8 of those in Bury St Edmunds, because every ward will just double up, because there's going to be no boundary review. So in Bury St Edmunds, we'll go from 4 councillors to 8. So basically, in every division, there will be 2 councillors elected. Now, we previously have said that we like the idea of 1 councillor per division, and particularly that's very effective in the rural areas. So I'm very interested to see what happens, but the registers are already available. I've got the Bury St Edmunds ones. I don't bother with the others because that's not my area. So they're available, you can look at, and there have been changes made to what was happened before. So I'm currently in a 2-member division, and that will be cut down to 1, and there'll be councillors, but you will have 140 councillors, 8 councillors in Bury St Edmunds, and what are they all going to do? Because there's far too many, and that should be stopped. But if you vote for 1 unitary, which you all have already done so, that's what you'll get. You'll get 2 in every division. So be warned about that. Just one final point. Councillor Martin did mention 2 successful mayors. Could I add Andy Street to that? He was very successful in West Midlands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Going on, Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And today I turn my attention to the responsibilities I hold for young people across Suffolk, because devolution offers a huge opportunity for them. It gives Suffolk greater control over skills and education for young adults. It allows us the ability to align training and learning with the real demands of the Suffolk economy and growth sectors. This is instead of following national trends of a one-size-fits-all model. Take projects like Sizewell C. With the right devolved powers, our colleges and further education settings become part of a long-term talent pipeline, offering tailored courses in areas like skilled trades, safety, and project management. The list is long. It is universally acknowledged that training young people for Suffolk jobs has major benefits. These include better employment outcomes, where courses match local industry needs, and young people are far more likely to find work quickly and locally. It helps reduce the brain drain. In rural counties like ours, too many young people feel the need to leave to find opportunities. If the right jobs are here and they're trained for them, they're more likely to stay, build their futures here, and contribute to Suffolk's growth. Local schools, transport, services, and businesses benefit when young adults choose to live and work nearby rather than move out of Suffolk. It supports local businesses. A skilled workforce helps employers thrive, especially in sectors like digital tech, sustainable energy, agriculture, and manufacturing. And finally, it builds economic resilience. When young people are trained for what Suffolk actually needs, the local economy is better able to adapt to future changes or challenges. Devolution allows us to do all of this. Elsewhere in the country, we've seen developed areas support SEND provision and learners facing barriers like transport and childcare. In the west of England, for instance, £20,000 was allocated specifically to help SEND students and their families navigate pathways into employment. In short, devolution offers a genuine chance to create the best outcomes for Suffolk, and most importantly, our young people. It gives us a real opportunity to train young people for Suffolk jobs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Byatt, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I will try to stick to them. Councillor Reid, totally agree with what you just said. Our young people are our future. What I'm a little concerned about is that Councillor Martin mentioned legacy. We need, as a council, cross-party, to celebrate the legacy of this council and what it has done over the years. Regardless of what happens in terms of how many unitaries are formed, we need to be able to pass on to the Mayor the proposals that we may have about how to carry on the good work. So really I'd like to know, how are we going to be able to do that? That today we say yes, hopefully we will support the idea of a mayoral authority, but how can we make sure that the good work done by this authority, by the officers, is passed on, and how we can suggest that the Mayor prioritises what we think are the important things for the future of the people of Suffolk. I will speak also for the residents of my favourite town in Suffolk. The fact is, where Lowestoft is, we need the Mayor to focus on Lowestoft as well. We need to look at transport infrastructure, the A12, horrendous, in fact, deeply and intolerably horrendous at the moment for the next few years. Thank goodness for Sizewell. But we've also got the A140, which goes through the middle of Suffolk and Norfolk. We need to be able to look at that, perhaps as a priority. This £40 million a year that the Mayor is going to have, that's not going to go far when you think about the size of Norfolk and Suffolk. Are we going to need a new regional coastal capital? I would suggest perhaps a coastal town about 40 miles from here would be an ideal place to have as a coastal capital for Norfolk and Suffolk. And also, I'd just like to mention, and again we mentioned it, Councillor Hicks, you mentioned this recently, the investment in infrastructure, the Goldwing Bridge in Lowestoft, which has made a tremendous difference to traffic movement there, is to go beyond that and see what else we can do, what our legacy is going to be. So really it's to say, what can we do to make sure that from the dying embers of this authority, because that's what's happening, and whatever comes out of it, whether it's one Suffolk or 3 unitaries, what can we take from the best that we've done here to take forward as a council to celebrate those successes, to make sure that we, at grassroots level, can be the representatives who feed into the Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Byatt. Councillor Cenci.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I have voted you in already, look. It's because we've got Mayor on the brain. Madam Chair, correct you. So, my first time as a Cabinet member, and more strangely is that I'm agreeing with quite a lot of the stuff that's being said by the Labour group there, apart from the London Mayor bit. So, what is a community? This is really important because communities are not just geographical, so they don't just stop at a greater Ipswich or a greater 3 unitaries. It's a group of individuals who share common interests, values, goals, and interact with a joint contact, be it physical, virtual, ideological, professional, or cultural, or it may be a hobby, such as supporting Ipswich Town Football Club, which I would suggest definitely stops at the boundary of Norfolk and Suffolk. I could go on. But each and every type requires understanding and support to shape policies and our services to foster social cohesion, economic development, and a good quality of life. I imagine a Suffolk where every community, from the bustling streets of our main towns to the serene villages of somewhere like Waveney Valley thrives. Not in isolation, but as part of a truly connected whole, and with resources that flow to nurture local initiatives, cut red tape, and redirect savings straight into services such as community hubs, libraries, mental well-being and more. I don't want to repeat how devolution would simplify and be smarter, but I believe it will knit together the needs of both our diverse urban and rural communities with one joined-up plan with one Suffolk, ensuring isolated villages are not left behind and that urban centres continue to grow in ways that benefit the whole region. Rural communities would have better connections and enjoy decisions that join up housing, health, jobs and local services rather than in silos. Where mayors have been successful, and this is really important, that they are successful and we need to do our part for that, there has been improvements in life expectancy, cheaper joined up travel, regeneration of neighbourhoods, export growth, creative jobs and skills hub as just a few examples. This is where these places have a clear champion, someone accountable who can convene parties, secure investment and speak up nationally. That is what I wish to see for Suffolk and Norfolk. I support the recommendations laid out in Agenda Item 7, page 25.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Scarf.
Thank you, Chair. Well, item 73 on page 33 says the Mayor may introduce a mayoral community infrastructure levy, or SIL, enabling the strategic authority to raise funds from new developments to invest in infrastructure. This complements existing local authority SIL powers and provides a new revenue stream for strategic projects. It may well complement existing powers, but equally it may well clash with the SIL raising powers of the lower level authorities, and there essentially is the rub. Developers can only reasonably be expected to cough up so much money if growth is to occur, so it could become an impediment to growth and become a conflict between the two. Just one potential example may be of not a quite perfect model, but nonetheless I do recognise the potential if the right person is elected, and that individual is absolutely crucial if we want success for the Mayor, Norfolk and Suffolk, and for the communities that we represent, so I will be voting in favour.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Hopfensperger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Today may feel like the end of a long and often frustrating journey, one filled with proposals, ideas, debates and discussions. But in truth, the creation of a new mayor for Suffolk and Norfolk marks a beginning. It represents a significant opportunity and is firmly about the future of our great county. I've never been a fan of adding layers of government for the sake of it, but if a new mayor is what's needed to unlock the funding to improve our infrastructure, if it's the best way to secure our seat at the top table of national government, where our needs and concerns are heard, and if it can turbocharge adult skills and drive economic growth across Suffolk, then I'm happy to support it today. Looking to the future, we should consider the real potential opportunities that a future health and social care devolution deal could offer our communities. Mayors represent the point where wide strategic vision, oversight and responsibility meets local knowledge and experience. In Greater Manchester, we've already seen how the Mayor can begin to break down the barriers between health and care, supporting local authorities and health partners to put prevention and person-centred support at the heart of the system. We're already doing this in Suffolk, so the new Mayor will find it easy to fit into the current system. Whoever is elected, I wish them well. I'm sure that they'll work tirelessly to champion Suffolk's priorities and remind central government of the enormous contributions we already make to the national story. And to those concerned that Suffolk might be considered a junior partner in this new combined authority, let me gently remind you, we are a key food and agricultural producer, home to the gateway port of Felixstowe, the welcome mat for British trade, and increasingly the clean power generating county of England. Suffolk punches well above its weight, both regionally and nationally, and I do suppose that Norfolk is the home of mustard. Madam Chairman, all joking aside, I'm happy to support this motion today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Bobby Bennett.
Thank you very much, Chair. Devolution gives us opportunity, and it's right that we say yes to opportunity. And it's my hope that a Suffolk and Norfolk mayoral combined authority will allow us to make services such as health, education and social care more integrated, to offer a joined-up, more person-focused support. That it will create space for local innovation and free us to design services that genuinely reflect our community's needs and test new ideas quickly without waiting for central directives. And with dedicated, predictable and unring-fenced funding, that it will allow us to plan for the long term, to give us the tools we need for our communities and our children and families, to put them at the heart of everything we do and do more of what we know works best for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Spicer, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I think we all recognised the passion with which Councillor Martin spoke. But when you talked about a unified voice, well, of course it's unified. There'll only be the mayor. He'll be on his own. He will be on his own. And it was good that you've declared for Andy Burnham. We know who you're going to vote for in the upcoming elections. To Councillor Hudson, I would say you may welcome the end of a two-tier system. It's just introducing another two-tiered system. We'll have the mayor, and we'll have one unitary authority here in Suffolk, and one in Norfolk, I hope. Chairman, what I just wanted to draw colleagues' attention to is the importance of some democratic safeguards coming into all of this. And democratic safeguards that are going to be transparent, I hope, visible, and as somebody, I can't remember now who said it, a legacy of good governance. It is up to us as this county council, and I hope our colleagues in Norfolk, that what we hand on to the mayor, that part of our functions, has the highest standards of public-facing governance. And I particularly want to refer to the fact that the new combined authority will be subject to a scrutiny process, and I'm pleased to confirm, there will be an audit committee for that process. And I look forward, with my colleagues on our audit committee here, to looking at those details as soon as they emerge. Thank you, Chairman, and of course I support this.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other councillors who wish to speak? Councillor Finch. And followed by Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And Councillor West.
When we started debating the new mayoral authority, like a few speakers we've already heard, I felt quite uncomfortable on the very basis that we are going to embark on another two-tier level of organisation, as we've already heard. However, the one factor that makes me feel that it's the right way to go, and it's the first time since I have been a councillor that we have got a commitment to Suffolk of an investment per year of 37.4 million. And more importantly, that commitment is for 30 years. We've never had that before, and therefore, for me, the whole principle of committing money going forward for the development and the interests focused on Suffolk's needs must be the correct way to go forward. And therefore, Madam Chairman, I will be voting for this paper.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So we stand at a pivotal moment for Suffolk. The creation of the Suffolk and Norfolk Combined County Authority marks the start of a new era, one that will bring real benefits to our communities, our economy and our environment. At the heart of this change is transport. For the first time, powers that once sat in Westminster will be in local hands. A directly elected mayor will lead transport planning, giving us a stronger voice and powers to act. The authority will become our local transport authority, responsible for public transport services, concessionary travel and crucially the ability to choose enhanced partnerships or full bus franchising. And for Suffolk, this is transformative. Franchising means services designed around people, not profit, reliable routes, better connections and fewer rural communities left behind. Enhanced partnerships too can raise standards, improve accessibility and keep fares affordable, just as Greater Manchester has shown with its B network. Highways maintenance will remain with Suffolk County Council, but now our roads will be part of a wider connected network. A new local transport plan will link transport with housing, jobs and environmental priorities, making sure investment truly supports our future. Importantly, decisions will be made without delays from central government. Funding will be simpler, giving Suffolk the flexibility to invest where it matters, from new bus shelters to greener and cleaner travel. And transport is only one part of the story. New mayoral powers over housing and regeneration will unlock investment and accelerate development on brownfield land, and support renewal in places like Lowestoft and Great Yarmouth. A community infrastructure levy will help fund the roads, schools and services we need, and with a £39 billion affordable homes programme ahead, Suffolk is in a strong position to secure its fair share. Colleagues, this is not just an administrative change. This is a bold step forward, a more connected and more empowered and more ambitious Suffolk. This is a chance to take control of our future, deliver better transport, stronger communities, and a real opportunity for people we serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor West.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I support the paper before us, and I think the additional funding that we're likely to get is far too much to turn down. Now, although my portfolio is more operational and was more suited to talk in the debate a few weeks ago, I would just like to say I completely agree with what my colleague Councillor Chambers said a moment ago about transport infrastructure, community levy, addressing some of the big ticket items. I agree with Councillor Bennett and Councillor Reid, who talked about bringing the services and giving a much higher profile to services that affect communities and young people, and this will certainly do that. And Councillor Hopfensperger as well talked about the potential benefits for health and social care services that will increasingly become more important to the whole community, and the new structure makes sense there. There are obviously negatives with creating a new mayoral office. There will always be a danger of centralisation in the hands of one person. In that respect, I agree with Councillor Hudson, and with him being a member of Reform UK, I can perfectly understand why he raises centralisation of power in the hands of one person as an issue. Of course, sorry?
Vladimir.
Well, yes. And of course, others have mentioned it as well, but some people across the country see the office of mayor as a launch pad for greater things. We had Boris in the past using the mayoral office of London to become Prime Minister. Sadly, I don't think Andy Burnham is going to go the same way, but time will tell. But all in all seriousness, I think that for the big ticket items where we need a much stronger voice at the national table, transport, health and social care, services for young people, this is the only way forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been listening to all the contributions from across the chamber, and I hadn't planned to speak, but there seems to be a sort of underlying assumption in almost all the conversations that have been had around this, certainly in this chamber, that the winning mayor and the unitary authority or authorities, there'll be a minimum of 2, maximum maybe of 6, will somehow be all run by the same party. I think given the fissured nature of our politics, with increasing extremity in our politics, and perhaps with the staggering of elections between the mayoral one, which we know will happen next May, and something which may or may not happen next May, and may or may not happen in some way, shape or form, shadow or otherwise then or later on, the chances are that there is a good chance that the winning mayor and the unitaries will not necessarily be of the same political complexion. My concern in that case, having spent many years in London local government, is that you will get a democratic deficit between a powerful mayor and office recruiting talent for people with strategy and vision, or perhaps just naked ambition, and you will get a patchwork quilt, perhaps less than London, but you might get a patchwork quilt of other authorities with different political leaderships trying to make sense of their area within a very different political climate than there is now. We have two tiers now, we have differences. Some people might say, well, we have county of one political colour, we have districts of another political colour, but there is a sort of public visibility to that. If you then load a single individual with enormous powers, the ability to recruit almost without public scrutiny, and if you look at London, assembly members are political eunuchs, regardless of party. The mayor is the dominant figure for better or for worse. So I'm not saying that that is going to be what happens here, but as a country, we never learn our political mistakes, it seems to me. Easy to become cynical on the back of that, but I'm afraid we constantly keep putting our foot in the same problems and digging ourselves deeper into the same holes. And meanwhile out there, our support as politicians, regardless of party, is being hollowed out in the eyes of the electorate, many of whom do not even function as electors because they don't turn up to vote. So I worry about exactly how smooth a ride we're going to have over the next few years. But certainly if anybody thinks this is going to be some sort of political harmony game at the end of the day, then they need to wake up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stringer has indicated he would like to speak. Councillor Stringer, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. We got that right this time. This is a very rare debate in that I find myself agreeing with almost everyone in the room. I find a lot of common cause with those on the other side of the chamber. I'm not suggesting that I'm going to walk it. Too much of that has happened before. So, because if I were to do that, I wouldn't have democratic legitimacy, would I? There wouldn't have been an election, and I wouldn't have stood on a platform. The priority programme that we're now going through is a fast one. Some might call it hasty. The document we're looking at today asks us to consider the implications. And I think Councillor Spicer got very close to looking at a number of those implications. I think one of them, and Councillor Nicholl equally, picked up where some of the bodies could be buried almost in some of this that we need to be careful about. That haste could cause anomalies. We need to look at the potential anomalies of the mayoral election coming in May. I take what Councillor Nettleton said, but I'd like to spin it on its head. I think possibly it's the mayoral election that should be considered being a slightly later, unless some other legislation can be put in place, and I'll explain why. Under the current timetable, under the current legislation, the mayoral election next year will be first past the post. The last Police and Crime Commissioner election in Suffolk had a turnout of 18.4%. In today's politics of five-party politics, that does mean someone could become the mayor on less than 5% of the electorate. That would not be a democratic mandate to have all of that power sitting on one person's shoulders, of whatever political persuasion. All of the mayors that will be coming up in the later part of next year will be on a different voting system, one that ensures that there's a greater democratic mandate for whoever gets that prize. And I think we as a council should be alive to that implication and make that out to government. Not say stop the whole show, but actually just have a little think. The perception of lack of democratic accountability and legitimacy in this country is already at play, given the last government got roughly less than a third of the vote. We need to be alive to that, and we need to guard against that. And I think we should just point that out. That aside, I will be voting for the paper today because I think, I don't know why you're surprised. Because, yes, we should take this opportunity, I believe, but point out to government quite clearly where we feel the disbenefits are. I'll go through why I'm not terribly afraid. I brought today, in this time of identity politics, I brought my birth certificate. Sorry, you've heard this before, Matthew. My birth certificate, yes, I didn't just crawl out under a bush, I was born. I was born in the registration district of Hartismere, in the sub-district of Iron Stradbroke, in the county of East Suffolk. When eventually another certificate of my name comes in that suggests I've demised, that will be under the council that we're talking about coming into Birthnack. I hope I don't peg out before that sees the light of day. But some of you might quite like that idea. But what's really important is not that document. What was important was the document that came after it. The document that came after my birth was a medical card issued by East Suffolk Executive Council. And the address on that card says Andrew George Stringer, The Caravan, near the railway station in Bacton. Now, why that's important was there was another card issued not long after that said Andrew George Stringer, 16 double corner cotton. The Caravan was just a caravan that I first grew up in. Because of a worker of East Suffolk Council, we got a council house that was 16 double corner cotton. What I'm telling you is, it doesn't matter what the name is. What matter is the services it can give to those residents. Mm-hmm. So I have no fear of this change. I just want to point out the issues and the problems. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Faircloth-Mutton. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My preference would have been for us to be endorsing the county deal that was proposed to us a few years ago, mainly because of bureaucracy. I think it would have been much leaner than the new combined mayoral authority. However, it will be up to the new office holder of the new combined mayoral authority to have efficient administration, and that is what should be delivered. Madam Chairman, times are hard. Times are hard for our young people. They're hard for our families. They're hard for our older residents. They're hard for our businesses and our communities and local government. It is often our frustration that we do not have the tools, we do not have the resources to effect meaningful change to deliver for our residents. We're not affluent enough to feel the fruits of our labours. We're not poor enough to receive the additional support we need from central government to effect meaningful change. The County Mayoral Authority will deliver change to better connect our rural communities, upskill our young people, and revitalise our struggling high streets. It will back the strivers who run our businesses, who create wealth and opportunity for our residents, but do not have the infrastructure to turbocharge the next chapters in their stories. The new authority will shine a light into the corners of our two counties, where many have not seen light for many years. The new authority will shine a light for the great forgotten. In 1981, Ronald Reagan said, "I don't believe that a fate will inevitably fall upon us, whatever we do." But what he did believe in was a fate will fall upon us if we do nothing. Today we have the chance to finally do something, to take our great county forward, the way our residents deserve, the way our businesses deserve, the way our communities deserve. Let's seize that opportunity and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Mellon.
Thank you, Chair. For anyone who is confused about when the next County Council election will take place, can I point them in the direction of the Suffolk County Council website, which says very clearly the next Suffolk County Council election will take place on the 7th of May 2026. Madam Chair, I'm content to support this next step in the process of change. Like Councillor Rout, I was somewhat lukewarm about the prospect of a new tier of local government. But if this is indeed power, funding and decision-making being drawn down from Westminster, then I welcome it. But I do fear that in the process of reorganisation, there may be some drawing up of powers and decision-making further away from people into a regional body, and I think that would be regrettable. The government's very clear that it expects the new mayor to deliver its growth agenda.
However, if only narrowly focused on this, then I think there's a risk of the mayor failing. We need a strategic leader on a range of fronts who's not just delivering the government's agenda, but who represents the people of Suffolk and Norfolk and is our voice at the top table, a strong advocate for the region, taking the opportunity to raise our concerns, which I hope are much wider than simply economic growth. So we need the right person as the mayor, but if we do elect the right person, I'm sure she will do very well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mellon. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. It's quite a nice angle over here. I will be voting against this, which is something I say quite often in this chamber, and I just think it's because the risk is too great. Now, I know that the majority of you will be voting in favour of this, but I'm very conscious that one man or woman can change the course of the direction of any form of infrastructure, any form of investment in areas such as the areas that I represent who really, really need the help. We saw a leader that was going down the direction of giving Ipswich what it needs, and then we saw a change of leadership, and then Ipswich was bled dry of any form of infrastructure. And I do think about who will be the mayor. And if it is anything like the mayor of London, then it will be a mayor that will not stick up for the most vulnerable, a mayor that will not stick up for women, actually, and will prefer to erase us from any form of existence, even to the degree of erasing adverts of women on there, and would rather have adverts on the underground of celebrating assisted suicide. This could possibly be a mayor who will completely change the sheer fabric of Suffolk, and I think the risk is too great. I also worry about scrutiny. We've seen footage regularly of the Assembly, and I agree entirely with Alexander Nicol, my friend and colleague, with what he says about scrutiny. It's a fallacy, really, and that's been demonstrated in London. And when it comes to the democratic mandate, I just want to highlight that there's a few councillors that probably are sitting in this room with a low turnout. And I know on the borough especially, because we have elections every year, some people are sitting there on a mandate of a 15%, 20% turnout. So unless we have mandatory voting, I'm not sure how we would ever change that, regardless of whether it's first past the post or anything else. It's simply that, it's just the way it is. We've got a low turnout because people are apathetic, and I think that is because they see politicians that don't represent them, the average Joe, the just about managing people, the van drivers, and I don't have faith in the system that the right person will lead Ipswich in the direction it needs to go into.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Unless there are any other people who would like to speak, Councillor Wiles.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Always interesting being the final person to put their hands up, because whilst it's very difficult not repeating what everyone else has said, it also gives me an opportunity to listen to what everyone else has said. So I've picked up one or two things over the last few full council meetings, whether it was local government reorganisation or today the mayor. I realise that it doesn't matter which side of this chamber we sit in. We have ambition for Suffolk. We all are trying to work together for a vision for Suffolk. We are moving towards a stronger voice for Suffolk. In fact, our ICB has just formed a Norfolk and Suffolk alliance, which will make us even stronger and will deliver better outcomes for our residents. So it seems to make perfect sense to me that all of that should be put together in one voice, one mayoral voice who will be answerable to one authority, because that's why I support One Suffolk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, everybody, I'm very new to this. I even managed to screw up the speaker last time I spoke, and was basically talking to myself, so apologies if I make some mistakes today. I've been a councillor a very short while, but I'm picking up lots of experience as I go along, and I just want to share some of those experiences. Recently, we had travellers come to Bury St Edmunds and park up in the park. They do it every year. You basically could set your clock by it. It took weeks to move them on, absolutely weeks. I tried to get some sense out of the Police and Crime Commissioner. It took me weeks. I was told that he was on holiday, so come back when he's not on holiday, which is a bit worrying that the whole department relied on him. I got a voice message that said, due to the current circumstances, our responses might be slower. I think that was a message back from COVID times. So in other words, it's not working terribly well. And it worries me that the Police and Crime Commission is not working very well. I've had sort of most of the time I've been a councillor, it's about 3 months now perhaps, ongoing issues with highways. We've currently got a big issue going on with Tollgate Green, trying for weeks now to get detailed plans of whether we get a right turn from Mildenhall Road into Tollgate Road. Things of this nature. It should be very, very simple, very straightforward. It's gone on for weeks. I was very pleased to see recently there was a performance dashboard come out for Suffolk and comparing us to other regions. I've checked, and my colleague has checked for me. There's nothing mentioned about performance in this pack today. I understand it's debated in Cabinet, but not in the open full chamber. There needs to be a complete culture shift if we're going to succeed with this change. What I've witnessed over the last few weeks has been really the Uberization of local government. And basically the premise, like with Uber, the premise is to get rid of any friction in the system, to make it really smooth, make it really quick, and make it really efficient. Now, that comes with great danger. The friction actually provides an opportunity for people to stop and say, hey, is this right? Is this working correctly? Now we're going to get rid of all of that. And as people have mentioned, my colleagues have mentioned that local electors may not get represented thoroughly, and local needs might not get represented thoroughly. So I would say there needs to be a complete culture shift. And from what I've observed, and we've talked about the Mayor of London, talk about the Mayor of Manchester and the things going on there. These are reheated politicians into new roles. I think only Reform has got the vision and the courage to actually make a change for the Mayor. We're going to bring somebody into this role, we don't know yet whether it be a man or a woman, but we'll bring somebody with real vision who will make a real difference to this role, because I think it's an important role, but it needs somebody who's willing to challenge the status quo. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't believe we have anybody else who wishes to contribute. I will now call on Councillor Matthew Hicks, the seconder of the motion, to speak for up to 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Many members of this council actually will be very familiar with the debate we've had in this chamber previously on devolution. And sadly, for multiple reasons, devolution didn't happen because it was outside of Suffolk County Council's control. But that wasn't due to our lack of ambition or a lack of trying. We've always tried in Suffolk. Indeed, we've actually had a really strong desire to secure additional responsibilities, to secure additional funding, so that we can take these opportunities for our county and benefit our residents. So today, in 2025, we have a new deal on the table. one which uniquely links devolution and the even bigger change of local government reorganisation. And when we were in here just 2 weeks ago, we had overwhelming support for local government reorganisation, with the proposals put forward and voted through very, very strongly for one unitary for Suffolk, giving a new, smarter, simpler and better council for Suffolk. Now, the government is really clear that local government reorganisation and devolution, they come together. It's both or none. So today we are considering the other half of that package. And the government's been really clear, it intends to fund areas like ours here in Suffolk and in Norfolk via new authorities with a mayor. Now, whether we want it or not, this will happen in the end. So I would absolutely rather be at the front of the queue, having that opportunity to shape the deal, rather than simply having it done to us later with less funding.
Quite right.
We must remember there are other areas where this has worked. West Midlands, Teesside, who've had multiple deals and are not just on one deal. So there's much more to come if we move forward in this direction of travel. Mayors will sit at the highest government table. They will have powers to convene and bring big issues and thorny issues together with other mayors. And in our region, something like the water issues, we know that is holding back growth and holding back business in parts of our county. In the past, we simply bid for funding, and we were too often unsuccessful. Now we can work with the mayor, with our one unitary, speaking loudly for one Suffolk. This is new funding from government. It's not just a financial resource, it's actually a catalyst for real change. With this investment, the mayor will have full flexibility to clearly support a wide range of long-term, locally driven projects. And that's right, to drive economic growth, to improve infrastructure, and ultimately to improve the quality of life for our residents. Earlier this week, I'm really pleased to say the Suffolk Business Board came out and gave its endorsement, focusing on the opportunities that this will bring in attracting additional and significant investment into Suffolk and Norfolk. The possibilities are vast and varied if we do this in the right way. So yes, I want to see a directly elected mayor who's visible, who's accessible, who's accountable to our residents in the same way we all are here when we go out to the polls every 4 years or so to the electorate. This will ensure decisions are made in the best interests of our communities with a clear mandate. It's worth noting today several county councillors are unable to be here today. And that's because we moved the date and some of them had pre-booked holidays, and clearly that would not be fair to council. And some, like Lance Starnbury, is on a business trip that he couldn't move. But Karen Soons, Jenny Cerisa, Michael Ladd, Lance Starnbury, Georgia Hall, Debbie McCullum have all said they really wanted to be here and speak about the opportunity this brings to their communities. And they were unable to make it, and I said I would give them a mention. It's not something we'd normally do, but this is an exceptional meeting, and I think worthy of mention. Madam Chairman, the government's proposal was to create a mayor for Suffolk and Norfolk with devolved powers and a starting investment fund, and I hasten to add, a starting investment fund of £37 million a year. And that has real potential to be transformative for our region. So let's seize the opportunity today so that Suffolk is at the top of the table, and let's do it with enthusiasm, determination, and let's all support this paper today. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hicks. Councillor Rout, as proposer of the motion, would you like to add anything further? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and as always, I'm grateful to members across the chamber for contributing to today's debate. And I think I was struck today in this sort of brave new era of political musical chairs that I was sort of sat here at once agreeing with Councillor Stringer, with Councillor Hudson, Councillor Faircloth-Mutton, some of what Councillor Robinson and Councillor Mellon said, not necessarily the outcome, but some of what you said. So I'm grateful for all the contributions, and I think there is a lot of consensus in the chamber here today. Councillor Martin, when you spoke, I think you were struck by how lukewarm I was about the overall concept of the mayor. I think, as others have mentioned, the current occupant of number 10 Downing Street is rather lukewarm about one of the current mayors. But there we are. But there have been very, very good examples of successful mayors, and Andy Street, Ben Houchin have been mentioned. You asked for a unified voice, and I think you made that point very clearly. And it's strange because you didn't want a unified voice just over 2 weeks ago when we put forward One Suffolk. Councillor Hudson, some excellent points about cost-cutting and efficiency, and, well, it sounded like the One Suffolk business case, so I'm grateful for your support then and today. Councillor Nettleton, you spoke about the elections. I think we need to stress that there are more than just the 75 councillors on this authority, or to be 70 if the elections proceed. But there's more than that in Suffolk. There are over 300, including our district and borough colleagues. So it's not just us in this chamber. And I would also mention, actually, that when we were out engaging with residents throughout the LGR process, many of those did like multi-member wards or divisions, even though we perhaps don't as members. Councillor Byatt, I would stress that the MCCA will have constituent members from both Norfolk and Suffolk, so you'll have those strong voices there. We're also doing a lot of work to make the authority ready to stand up on day one, so that there is, if you like, a red box of options and proposals for the new mayor that align with their principles. Turning to Councillor Scarf, I think I'd agree with you that the office of mayor is only as good as the person that holds it, and we have to have the right person elected. In terms of SIL, I probably disagree with you slightly. I think that the mayoral SIL levying powers build in more flexibility to spread the cost of strategic infrastructure more widely. So I think that's a bonus. Councillor Spicer, as ever, I'm grateful to you for raising the importance of audit, scrutiny and good governance, and I'll add more on that later. Councillor Finch, thank you for mentioning the magnitude of the funding, and of course this is just the start. As we've seen elsewhere, such as in Manchester, there are future deals that come forward. I think it was Councillor Nichol that mentioned assumptions around one party running all of the authorities. I stressed that I would never make assumptions about elections, least of all at the moment, possibly because I wouldn't like those assumptions. But I certainly wouldn't make them. But Councillor Stringer, yes, I mean I agree with a good deal of what you said. Locally and nationally, it is sometimes difficult to maintain faith in our politicians, but I see through the debate today in this chamber, I think we've done something to restore that, actually. And I do share your frustrations that the voting system will change between 2026 and 2027. It seems odd not to go in with the new system from the start, but it's incumbent on all of us to drive up turnout. We do that, and I think when an election takes place, that does give that person a mandate, regardless of turnout, but we must drive it up. But to conclude, Madam Chairman, this is, I think, as Councillor Chambers said, a pivotal moment for our county. It is a decision that brings a huge amount of funding, that £37.4 million, 50-50 revenue and capital, into Suffolk and Norfolk each and every year. And I think we were unanimous in our view that our two counties need a stronger voice, even if we don't quite agree on who that voice should be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a very interesting vote, and we'll now move to voting electronically on the motion. I think this really is a historic vote, actually, because we're voting potentially to change the governance of Suffolk in the long term. So it's an important day. We'll now move to an electronic vote. I've gone off-piste. I should have said, don't press anything on your touch screen yet. And then, of course, there's nothing to press, is there? If you support the motion, press yes. If you don't agree, press no. Press abstain if you wish to abstain. Are you all ready? I will start the vote. Please vote now. Sorry. I'm obviously rather excited about this vote. So, please ensure that your screen shows the words, "Your vote has been cast." Has everyone voted? Yes. I shall now close the vote. Well, the results are overwhelmingly in favour, with 1 against and no abstentions. We'll now move on to agenda item 8. Agenda item 8 provides for Council to consider any exemptions under Section 84 of the Local Government Act 1972. There are no exemptions requiring consideration at today's meeting. We will therefore move on to agenda item 9. Agenda item 9 is Cabinet Member reports and questions. Please remember that each councillor can ask 1 main question and 1 supplementary. The time limit for responses to each is 2 minutes. 2 questions in advance have been received from councillors. Number 1 is a question from Councillor Sandy Martin to Councillor Paul West.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was going to ask, well, I am asking the portfolio holder for highways maintenance what he considers to be the main purpose of weed treatments in the highway.
I consider the main purpose to be to kill the weeds, although I perfectly accept that the system is not perfect, which is why I'm working with officers, seeing if we can extend the trial of the weed ripper that we'd introduced in certain parts of Suffolk in the spring and the summer to accompany the treatment of weeds by glyphosate a couple of times a year so that we get a better outcome than we have at the moment.
Councillor Martin, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Madam Chairman. I would have thought that the main purpose of dealing with weeds is for public safety, for the safety of pedestrians in particular, and under those circumstances, would he agree with me that a buddleia, which is probably at least 2 years old, which is still growing out of a pavement on a blind corner next to a junction on a railway bridge on a narrow pavement, which is heavily used by pedestrians, is not a very good advertisement for our weed treatment system?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Obviously, if you kill the weeds, you make that safer. But I'll take that particular issue up and make sure it's dealt with if you send me a note of where it is.
Okay.
Can I?
Go on.
Can I add a...
Go on, Councillor. Tell us where it is, Councillor. Okay. Yeah, okay, well, if there's nothing more to be said on the buddleia, we'll move on to question number 2 from Councillor Simon Harley to Councillor Matthew Hicks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Please will the councillor say how many requests for a review of a redacted document it has received in the last 6 months by citizens wishing to exercise their rights by law, for example, Freedom of Information Act, Data Protection Act and the UK Data Protection Register, in which the council has agreed to discharge and for which a certificate has been issued under the process supervised by the Information Commissioner's Office.
Thanks very much. In the past 6 months, Suffolk County Council has received 12 requests to review a decision to redact documents released under the information governance legislation. Following internal reviews of those decisions, the Council then agreed to remove some redactions from 2 of those requests. No decision notices to remove redactions were issued to the County Council by the Information Commissioner.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Harley?
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Hicks. Could you also explain the process by which these requests are considered, by which I mean the method and the indicative timeframe?
Yeah, very happy to. Suffolk County Council adheres to the relevant legislative requirements and timeframes when dealing with such requests, along the best practice recommendations from the Information Commissioner themselves. Here in Suffolk, we have a well-established process for storing, gathering and providing the information requested. Public bodies have 20 working days to respond to those requests made under the Freedom of Information and Environmental Information regulations, and 1 calendar month to provide a response to subject access requests. In cases where these are complex, this can be extended for a further 2 months. But of course, we make every attempt to get back as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you very much. Right, I will now take questions from the floor. Please raise your hands. If you have a question, I will call as many as possible within the 30 minutes we are allowed. And please identify which paper you'd like to raise a question on. Councillor Lockington.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to ask Councillor West a question referring to the answer to Councillor Martin. Are you not aware that the whipper of the weed whipper hasn't been used this year, and in response to me, officers told me they hadn't used it this year because it didn't work?
It has been used in part of this in 20 to 25, but we're looking to see whether we have better options for it next year.
Okay. Councillor, go ahead, supplementary.
Yes, Madam. Could I then book it in for the division I have?
Thank you very much. I think I saw another hand going up. Councillor Byatt.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank Councillor Out for bringing the previous item to this council. I just wonder if you can just clarify something for me, or if we can find it from somewhere else in the floor. It was suggested by one of my colleagues behind me that we are looking for a male or a female mayor. Do you agree we should also be looking transgender as well?
Right, who's answering this?
I think we should be looking for the best person for the job.
Councillor, you didn't have a supplementary, did you?
Just a thank you, and totally agree.
Councillor Knowles. Councillor Murray, sorry, first.
Thank you. I would like to ask either the Cabinet Member for Education and SEND or the leader that given that there doesn't appear to be a deputy for SEND anymore, has the SEND crisis been resolved, and are there no outstanding issues in the area of SEND, please?
Thank you, go ahead.
Thank you very much. When making decisions on who should be cabinet members or deputy cabinet members, it's important to take everything in the round. We anticipate going forward there will be great structural and policy changes coming forward from government regarding SEND in the next few months. And we must be in a position to focus on this. And I believe absolutely that Councillor Reid, as cabinet member, is ideally suited to drive forward in implementing any change. I have absolute confidence in the work that Councillor Reid is doing, and he is making a significant improvement to the service and is doing that day in, day out. And I'm absolutely content that he is in a strong position to continue with that work.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor? Councillor Lever.
Thank you, Chair. Just really quickly to Councillor Hicks regarding the on page 42 regarding reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete rack. Just the last line there about the sites identified for assessment, and of these, the site inspections. So it's 387 sites were identified for assessment, and 178 site inspections have been completed with no further sites identified as containing rack products. Just some clarity really in terms of what that means 4 sites in our portfolio which may contain RAC, and why there was 387 sites identified and only 178 inspections carried out to date. So just clarity, please.
I don't have that detail now, but I'm very happy to provide a written answer.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the floor? And Councillor Stringer.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll see if I can get this asked without tripping over. We have a policy, this is for Councillor West, I believe, or Councillor Chambers, either. Or it could be for the leader. We have a policy on non-illuminated decorations on Suffolk County Council street furniture. We normally ask for an applicant to fill in a form. They normally have to do a risk assessment, and they, more importantly, have to pay a fee. Now, it appears over the summer we have an awful lot of non-illuminated decorations on our street furniture. So, given we now have a policy, can I ask whether we've had the application forms and we've charged? And if we haven't done that to date, will we then be giving those communities that want to celebrate Christmas, for instance, by having non-illuminated decorations on street furniture, that they will equally have that done for free and not have to pay the usual fee? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm guessing you're sort of going down the route of flags appearing on lampposts and things like that. Yeah. So we've been really clear on our approach on that. We've published it, we've shared it with you, and we've shared it with everyone. It's a common approach, and I'm happy with that approach. Other policies are not changing.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Stringer?
So can I just, so if for instance Stowmarket normally puts up Union Jack bunting at Christmas time, very good, along with its Union Jack flags it already has in the marketplace. So if we were then to think that forward, under the current policy then, if the town council puts up that bunting, it will have to pay a fee and do the risk assessment. If a member of the public does it, they won't have to pay the fee or do the risk assessment. Can you just clarify that's the case?
So normal processes are still in place, that if you want to do things as an organisation, you need to apply. Obviously, some people are trying to bypass the current system, and for those, we currently have things in place as how we will deal with that.
Thank you. If there are no more questions... Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. This is one for Chris Chambers, I think. Do I
Councillor,
stand up?
would you mind standing? Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Very happy to stand up. Passenger transport. Thank you very much for the report. It would be nice to have a little bit more detail, to be honest with you. But anyway, my question is, in Bury St Edmunds, particularly on the Howard estate and so forth, there is no way to, Milton Hall estate as well, there's no way to get directly by bus to West Suffolk Hospital. So nurses and doctors and so forth effectively can't use the bus service. So my question is, can something be done about that? Can we get a direct service from Milton Hall to West Suffolk Hospital?
Yes, so there was a process, and there will, I hope, we're just waiting for funding announcements from central government, but we are anticipating, or hopeful rather, that we'll receive the same level of funding again next year, and if that is the case, then there'll be an application process that all councillors were made aware of, as well as parish and town councils, for you to be able to collaborate and put forward suggested routes and work with communities and transport providers. Submit those details in, and then we'll work together to see if we can put those into action.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, everyone. I think that our meeting has now come to an end. Please wait for the gavel and listen to the following information before you leave. Please, would Cabinet members and the CLT leave your nameplates and microphone smart cards where you are seated, and these will be moved for you. Please, can everyone else, whether or not you are intending to come back for the Cabinet meeting, take individual responsibility for removing all your belongings, paperwork, mugs, glasses, etc., from the chamber when you leave, to allow the seating arrangements to be reset. Your microphone smart cards should be placed in the collection box by the meeting room exit, and nameplates on the table where you collected them from. And finally, please remember to check your pigeonhole before you leave today. This concludes the business for today's meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.